Canine Revolution Radio, episode 45. Today we're going to be talking about becoming a professional dog trainer. There's a lot of individuals who come to me and they say, I think I want to be a dog trainer. But what is a professional dog trainer? To me, a professional dog trainer is an individual who has a passion for helping dogs and helping people. It's someone who is willing to put in the hard work, the late nights, the early mornings, practice their skill, rehearse their skill, conduct repetition of behavior, study their skill. They will sweat. There will be toil. There will be frustration. They must have discipline. A professional dog trainer is someone who has taken time to hone their craft and their skills. They want to become the subject matter expert. They must know how to critically think. They must know how to problem solve situations with both dogs and people. They know how to troubleshoot scenarios in order to determine the best course of action with the dog's best interest in mind and the dog's owner's best interest in mind. They know how to respectfully and effectively communicate with others, even under stressful criteria. They develop what I call their dance with the dogs, fluid motion between the animal and handler that involves nonverbal communication, which is the dog's native language. They can detach from the scenario and put themselves in the other person's shoes. They can look at a scenario from the dog's perspective, from the other person's perspective. They understand that learning never ends. Education is ongoing. They know that with dogs and people and any animal, every scenario and situation is different, and they must apply their learning theories and principles that best suit the dog. They are committed. They are mentally and physically sound. They know that to perform with a physical and athletic animal, they must maintain their own health and physical fitness. They raise the bar of their performance. They never give up. When you guys think about the title professional dog trainer, what are some words that come to mind? First things that jump out to you.
Commitment.
I mean, I think you pretty much said it all. Discipline, bro.
I'd also say like dedication and passion, which I know you did mention those words, but those are the two that come to the top of my head.
And you train dogs.
Good to go.
I mean, you can't leave that out. You're a dog trainer.
I will say this. Not all professional dog trainers are equal. Anyone can call themselves a dog trainer. There's no formal education or certification required to call yourself a dog trainer. There's many dog trainer organizations which try to educate people the best way possible. They provide online courses or some in-person training. You know, I can see these providing good understanding of dog training, but unfortunately, I don't think that they're thorough enough to develop a high-performance professional dog trainer. There are many schools for dog trainers which are really great, and they have a great in-person coursework that can be taken, and those courses may last from a few weeks to a few months. Obviously, the longer the better. The thing about dog training is you need to gain some experience. And you need a mentor, someone that's experienced in the field to guide you on your path, to help you hone your skills, to help you develop yourself, not just with dogs, but also with people. And if you're going to start your own business, you have to learn that too. If you work in an existing and established dog training business, you can focus on the dogs and people and not worry about the business side of the coin. Dog training schools are great, but once you leave that school, can you continue to operate and apply what you have learned? That's the key. Because with dogs, something new will happen every day. Something new will happen that you have never experienced before. If that happens and you're operating alone by yourself, you have to be ready to apply your knowledge and problem-solving abilities to resolve the situation. There are a number of organizations online that have requirements to meet, and they will give you a certification and title, and that is great because education is critical. However, they may have less stringent requirements than others. There's also a number of dog training businesses that offer apprenticeships and certifications for individuals for dog training. The level and expertise of the trainer is going to depend on the requirements of that particular business. Some of these online certification schools and apprenticeship programs can range in cost from a few $100s to many thousands of dollars, over $30,000. Today on this podcast, our goal is to talk you through the listener. We want to talk you through our apprenticeship and certification process. We believe we have an extremely thorough and fair apprenticeship program that is designed to bulletproof the trainer by the time they complete the apprenticeship and achieve certification as a professional dog trainer. Our goal whenever we do an apprenticeship is to create a bulletproof trainer that can take what they learned, continue to apply it, continue to learn, and also be on our team long term. That's our goal. So before we kind of jump into that, I just want to talk about my history, and I'll get each one of y'all's brief history real quick. The way I got into dog training personally, backing it up a little bit, several years ago, I have a Doberman. His name is Bane. He's 7 years old this year. When I first got him, when he hit about a year old, he started to turn and show aggression towards me and my family, which obviously is not okay. So I was trying to troubleshoot that. I got involved with some local trainers at the time. I was in San Diego, California. Got involved with some local trainers, was working with them. Then I decided, I'm getting out of the Navy. Maybe dog training is something that I can do. So I started asking them about it, started to figure out you can definitely earn a living as a dog trainer because I didn't know if you could or not. That was a concern, obviously. But turns out you can. And as the years go by, dog training is getting more and more, popular. More and more people need their dogs trained. So that just continues to develop. But so at that time, I learned this is something you can do to support a family. But also, I was discovering my passion because I'm working with my dog with these trainers, trying to figure out what's going on, trying to troubleshoot what's going on with him. So long story short, I end up doing an apprenticeship program with a company out in San Diego. To enter that apprenticeship, you had to pay $5,000 right out the gate. You pay that right out the gate, and then as you continue through the apprenticeship, you pay another $20,000. So in total, $25,000 to do the apprenticeship. And so that was the terms of entering the apprenticeship. And while you were doing the apprenticeship, you weren't getting paid at all. But that was okay because I was in the middle of a transition out of the Navy. So it worked out for me financially. Some people wouldn't be able to do that, because you got to support yourself, right? So anyway, was working with this company for a while. I worked with them for over a year. Then I decided to step away from them, kind of went and learned from some other people. I learned from Michael Ellis, studied other dog training methods, and then I moved back to my home, South Carolina, and started up CanineRevolution dog training here. And at that point, had worked through the issues with my dog personally, and was developing our training methods to what they are now. So that's kind of what happened to me. And as we continued on, we just continued to grow and grow, build out our team, things like that. If you're running a dog training by yourself, let's say you're a solo person, you're running dog training by yourself. Let's say you're doing board and trains. Most board and train dog businesses are going to be having the dogs in the house. They have one person. So let's say back in the day, I'd take a room of my house. There would be dogs that would be staying in there for the board and train, and I'd be taking care of them from, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. all day, every day, 365. So it can burn somebody out, if they continue down that. But you gotta figure out what's your long-term goal, And so while I was going through this phase, one of the things I was realizing was, what was the long-term goal? If you want to have a sustainable business doing your passion, or sustainable career doing your passion, you can't be doing it every day, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. There's no time for family. There's no time for your hobbies. You know what I'm saying? If you have hobbies outside of dog training. So anyway, you got to come up with something that's sustainable. So we built a system basically where we have multiple positions on the team that help break up all the responsibilities. So now we have training assistants that help complete caretaking duties, which is taking dogs potty, feeding them, bathing them, washing them, watering them, all those types of things, cleaning up after them. Then we have, the trainers that are doing the actual brunt of the training, right? Doing the problem solving, the troubleshooting, all that type of thing, dealing with the dog owners, training them. Then we have, production that helps break up those responsibilities, because also, if you're one person doing it all, you got to advertise your business. You got to take the video, take the, post on the socials, right? So we break that responsibility out. That enables the trainers to focus more on training. You know what I'm saying? Then further, right now we have an admin assistant. She's great. That breaks up more responsibilities. That helps the trainers stay focused on the task, which helps them be better at what they do. And then admin, she's a specialist in what she does. And she can focus on coordinating with people, communicating with people, getting paperwork completed and filed appropriately, and all that kind of stuff. So as time has gone on, us personally, CanineRevolution, we've kind of broken out some of these responsibilities to make it as sustainable as possible for everybody involved. The trainers can focus on what they're doing. Training assistants can focus on what they're doing. Trainers and training assistants work very closely. A lot of times trainers are working with training assistants to help increase their knowledge, increase their handling of certain situations. Then we have production and admin, which go hand in hand. Trainers got to coordinate with them to get different things done. They have to coordinate with trainers. So it's all a team mentality. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, long story short, we build that out so it's sustainable for everybody. Nobody's getting burnt out, hopefully. You know what I'm saying? So that everybody can do what they enjoy, and everybody can do what we're here to do, which is to help the dogs. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of like the quick and easy of my background, where I started off in training. When I started off in training, I paid $25,000 to do an apprenticeship. Also, whenever I was developing our apprenticeship as CanineRevolution, I said it has to be sustainable, because someone has to be able to live. It has to be a fair wage that they can live off of. Also with the understanding that they're learning a completely new skill set. So they can't be overcompensated, right? Because they're learning. They're basically in school. But it has to be fair enough for them to be able to sustain their life, so they can continue to learn and develop. Then at a certain point, once they finish the initial apprenticeship process, the initial learning process, remember what I said, education is ongoing, never ends. So once you complete the apprenticeship, you're certified, then the pay adjusts to compensate you for your skill set, you know what I'm saying, to continue on. So anyway, with that being said, today we're going to go through the requirements of our apprenticeship, and we've developed this as time has gone on. So Chris here, he was the first to go through the apprenticeship process. It was a little rough. I was figuring out how to run an apprenticeship, how to train somebody else. And the other thing you'll find is, once you're involved in training other people how to do your skill set, you kind of become a little bit better at your skill set. If you can train somebody else to do what you do, that makes you better at what you do, your specific skill set. And I think that, for the majority of people, that's what we're finding, right? So anyway, it started off with Chris. It wasn't anything crazy formal. It was basically, hey, you want to be a dog trainer? Hey, you got 90 days to learn all this stuff. Go to Waffle House a couple times, talk about learning theory, and then go from there. So, Chris, let's talk about when you started your apprenticeship. What are some of the major points that you remember back in the day? That was a while ago. So back in the day,
Yeah,
what do you remember?
From my perspective, it was like kind of very much so like a trial by fire kind of day one. Just jump in, like, hey, here's a dog. You're gonna start training the dog, as you're teaching me all of this stuff. So there was not a lot of like written material, written tests, those kind of things. It was just, hey, if there was a test, and I know all that stuff was definitely written in your mind, but a lot of it was not like written down yet into like how we have our standard operating procedures now. So if there was a test,
we didn't have an SOP back then?
it was very minimal. It was very minimal. It was very, there was an SOP, but it wasn't like the 80 whatever pages that it is now. So it was still in development, I think, So yeah, there definitely was an SOP, but it was less, I don't know, official maybe, I guess. There was a test, like you had it planned out in your head. I didn't know. There was no, hey, you got to prep for this test on this day. Just I show up to work one day, hey, you're going to do a verbal assessment or whatever, right? I'm like, oh, okay.
Is that really what happened?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Several times. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, good to go.
So it was, like I
toes.
said, I mean, just it was very, very trial by fire, which, I mean, that's my speed anyway.
Trial by fire for you as the apprentice, trial by fire for me
For sure.
as the one teaching you, trying to figure out what to do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't all that good, so
It was good.
It was good, but could have been better.
Yeah.
But we learn as time goes on.
For sure.
And so I do appreciate you bearing with me and being the test dummy.
Hey, that's what I'm about.
All right. Then after Chris came through, Chris did his apprenticeship, got certified. There's a couple hangups on some consultation requirements. Got through those. Good to go. Couple dogs we learned a couple things on. Good to go. Chris also, when he was an apprentice, had a baby. So learning how to be taking care of a baby at the same time learning how to be a dog trainer.
I just applied everything that I was learning as a dog trainer to the baby and good to go.
Jackson, come here.
All right. Then after Chris came through, the next trainer to certify was Kevin. And at that point, we had developed a lot. I think we had an official letter at that time. We had an official requirements. We had more of an official SOP. So, Kevin, when you started, what was some of the major things that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit more structured. I came through, I thought I had a good idea of what I was about to go through, but it was spelled out enough to where I could, understand it. There was still a lot of areas where it was still kind of that trial by fire, and I'm the type of person where I learn best from making the mistake. Maybe not necessarily big ones, but like little ones, that's how I know, oh, well, I'm not going to do that again because, this may have happened or whatever. So I think you picked up on that. So you kind of like allowed that learning theory to happen, I think that at your progression at that point, I think you were more catered to, all right, how does this individual learn? How can I present this? Because the way for, the listeners, the way that this is designed, it's basically to change the way that you think, change the way that you are, and it's broken down step by step. So when I came through, obviously it was, more laid out than Chris, but Chris, we still appreciate the founding fathers over here. But no, I mean, it was, it was eye-opening. There were definitely hardships. There were times where I was like, I remember, I think it was phase 3 or phase 4. I was like, man, can I even do this? Like, am I going to finish this? And it's crazy, all the things that I went through in the past, and dealing with that and getting on special teams at the prison and all this other crap. And I was like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But obviously very rewarding at the end. Yeah.
So you learned a lot, went through the hardships.
Oh, yeah.
Good to go. Well, what would you say if you were to think back, what was the most difficult thing you worked through in your apprenticeship?
I think getting it to where I could convey the information for everybody to understand. I got really hung up on the way that I am, the way that I learn, the way that I speak. So everything was, super short, sometimes overthinking, sometimes just completely wrong. Had to change up the whole way that I present information. I think that's where I met a lot of challenges. But then, just time and experience, now money. So
yeah, good to go. That does bring up a good point. Both Kevin and Chris, before they came to Canine Revolution, they have a background in law enforcement. And so I remember Chris specifically when he was starting, he's like, hey, I'm good at talking to people.
Transition.
I was a detective. I'm good at talking to people. So we start doing customer interactions, and Chris is treating them like they're
Perfect.
Yeah, like they're a suspect. He's like interrogating them, you know. So he's got to learn how to not interrogate people.
Yeah, got a lot better now.
Just had to fix that switch over there, you know?
Yeah.
Yep. So good to go. So, and then our newest certified trainer here is Lexi, most recently certified, and a lot has happened between Kevin's certification and her certification, which we'll talk more details here in a minute. We've had multiple people attempt the certification and you know, not make it for this reason or another, and that's okay. But Lexi, kind of talk us through your experience. What were some of your major things that you learned from it, and kind of talk us through, you know, your experience.
So I would definitely say I was a little bit luckier than Chris and Kevin here, just because everything, you know, was planned out, very methodical. There was, you know, the letter, there was, you know, different packets that were given to me. I knew, you know, when things were coming up, which was, you know, a good way for me because I like having the structure. I like knowing exactly when things are going to happen. So, you know, every test was planned out. Chad told us, hey, you know, this is when this is going to happen. So I like that. But I feel like after having, you know, done it with Chris and Kevin, you also kind of figured out the way that it, you know, works. We had kind of all the, you know, new structure basically put in place for us. But then we also had the opportunity to like work with all of you guys before we even got our first dog. So, you know, for me, there was dogs that I wasn't even officially over. There was like 3 of them, I think, at first. And then that kind of all 3 of you guys, you know, sat at a table kind of teaching, you know, me what I should do with these dogs that I wasn't totally like fully responsible for yet. So I feel like that, you know, was something different that, you know, helped me. That was something that helped me learn a lot at the very, very beginning.
Yeah, you didn't have to go out on the back deck with a whiteboard and a marker, huh?
Yeah, no, did not have to do that.
There was no back deck.
Good to go. All right. So with that being said, I'm going to go through our trainer apprenticeship informational letter to spell out all the requirements of our apprenticeship. It's pretty lengthy. It's pretty detailed, so we'll break it up for discussion. But I wrote this up to give to anybody that says, hey, I think I want to be a dog trainer. You know, which I'll go ahead and say right now, right out the bat, if someone tells me, I think I want to be a dog trainer,
Can't do it.
that's already like a yellow flag to me.
Not a full red, but it's yellow.
Yeah, not full red. But if someone comes up to me and says, I want to be a dog trainer, green light, you know, because that tells me that the determination and dedication is there.
I'm going to be a dog.
I'm going to be a dog trainer, you know. I remember whenever I approached the first company that I did an apprenticeship with, and they were giving me all the details of their apprenticeship, and I said, it's good to go. I just want to be a dog trainer. That's literally what I said. And they're like, okay, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I want to be a dog trainer. Tell me what I got to do, you know? So that's kind of, you know, what I'm looking for, someone to have that determination, that passion, that dedication, you know? So if you walk up to us and you say, hey, I think I want to be a dog trainer, just know what's going through our head. You know, versus if you say, I want to be a dog, I want nothing else other than to be a dog trainer. You know what I'm saying? All right, so jumping into we call this the Professional Dog Trainer Apprenticeship Informational Letter. The purpose of the letter, to provide detailed information for anyone interested in pursuing a certification as professional dog trainer at CanineRevolution Dog Training, and all milestones to be met in order to achieve successful qualification and certification. So we'll stop right there for a second. You guys know me. I was in the Navy, you know, huge military background. And so when I'm building this, I'm kind of taking my military experience and I'm like, all right, whenever I qualified for this warfare qualification or that warfare qualification in the Navy, how is it broken up? You know, what did you have to do to get that qualification? So that helped me kind of develop after I went through the Chris scenario, you know, that helped me kind of develop, all right, here's milestones, here's line items, here's how to lay it out in a systematic way. You know what I'm saying? All right, so the background. So we have a section in the letter that talks about the background of a professional dog trainer. It says, successful and professional training of dogs is unlike any other profession. It requires a thorough understanding of the principles, theory, and science behind dog training and being able to apply those key factors as needed to the individual dog being trained. We'll pause right there. Principles, theory, and science. Apply it to the individual dog being trained. You guys got any thoughts on that?
I think what people need to understand when you look at dog training is there's not just one clear answer for whatever it is that you're doing. You could have two dogs doing the same thing, and the way you handle it with one dog and the way you handle it with another dog may differ depending on the dog. I should say proper dog training. Mm-hmm. There are dog trainers out there who just have one way. If it doesn't work, your dog can't be trained. We've talked about that before. But when you're dealing with dogs, like Chad says all the time, they're living, breathing beings. They have thoughts, they have personalities, they have differences. Mm-hmm. There's not just one clear-cut answer for every obstacle to overcome. So like you mentioned before, that's where the critical thinking comes into play. Mm-hmm. So just clarify there.
Boom. I got nothing. That's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, that's where you have to be able, to be a dog trainer, especially here at CanineRevolution Dog Training, you have to be able to think outside the box. It's not just I think that's the misconception is that people are like, oh, we're teaching dogs to sit and down and stay and do all this obedience. Yes, we are, but how you do that can differ, like Kevin said, depending on the dog. And that's where you have to have a solid foundation in the science, in the theory of how dogs learn, how mammals learn. If you don't truly understand that, yes, we can tell you how to take a piece of food and lure a dog to sit, put their butt down, boom, I just taught a sit, right? But what about a dog that's not going to take that food, or a dog that's so scared they don't even want to come out of the kennel? There's all these different scenarios that you have to be able to think outside of the box, but still apply the science and the theory to accomplish the mission.
Mm-hmm. So let's just take the sit example. You're teaching a dog to sit. You already brought up two throw-out scenarios. The dog doesn't want the food. The dog's too scared to come out of its kennel. What if it's biting the food so aggressively that it's cutting cuts into your hand every time it takes the food? How are you going to teach that dog to bite softer? Mm-hmm. What if the dog is so outwardly focused that it can't even focus on you to sit? So those are just more variables that go into it. You have to understand. You got to think outside the box. You can't approach dog training from a robotic sense to where this is the way, and if it doesn't happen this way, well, then it's not possible. You got to always figure out what can you do to meet that individual dog's need to accomplish the objective that you were hired for by the owner. You know what I'm saying? All right, back to the letter here. Additionally, professional dog training also includes a thorough understanding of the principles, theory, and science behind human training, and being able to apply those key factors as needed to the individual dog owners, as well as the dog, and sync the dog and owner team and relationship. Pause right there. You guys got any thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, kind of a similar thing. It's not just about training the dog. You have to be able to communicate effectively to the owner as well, so that you're setting them up for success. If the owners cannot maintain this stuff, then it's going to be thrown out the window, right? And so we've had dogs that were special cases. Yes, we're still teaching all of the obedience and all of doing the distraction work, the socialization, all that kind of stuff. But now we as dog trainers have to be able to assess that family and say, you might have special things for us. Let's say you got a dog that's super aggressive. You're going to have different things that you're going to do than this friendly social puppy. And we have to be able to communicate that structure to the owner so that they can be set up for success. Does that kind of make sense, or is that kind of confusing? So you have to be able to assess each individual, just like you're assessing each individual dog, each individual family, to find how they operate. Are they going to be able to digest the information? That's your job, to make sure that they can digest the information properly. And so that's, again, critical thinking, thinking outside the box with the different types of people that you run into.
Yeah, you got to be fluid. You got to adapt to them. Like Chris said, there's dogs I've taken home to where it's well, we're not necessarily following this protocol. And I'm like, well, it's actually probably not really a big deal. A super good dog, you can probably be a little easy there. There's other dogs that I've taken home with special instructions and told the people, if you don't do this, you're going to fail. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to present that in a way. You can't just be blunt like that.
Yep.
Something we both learned. But yeah, I mean, just being fluid, being adaptable. That's what do we always say? Be flexible.
And I mean, I would say too is like, especially telling people now, like, I'm a dog trainer. It's like, they're like, oh, that sounds so fun. You get to work with dogs all day.
You get to play
it's
with the puppies
like,
all day.
They're like, I would love that. I love dogs. And it's like, okay, I love dogs too. And yes, I do get to work with dogs, but it's like, half of my day, or sometimes even over half of my day is, more working with people, working with clients than it really is working with the dogs. So, there's a good mixture of both. Certain days, maybe you do work with dogs all day. And then other days, maybe you're mostly just working with people all day. But it is, understanding that you're not just going to be working with dogs all day.
That's
You're
a
gonna
really
have-
good point, because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I love animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hate people. I love dogs more than I like people. Well, if you want to be a dog trainer, you gotta like people. You gotta have genuine relationships with people. So that's a really good point.
There's also a big misconception there. People think you're like cuddling golden retrievers all day. Really, you're like dealing with like hyper dominant dogs sometimes. Not exactly the cuddling type. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there are some cuddles.
I'll go cuddle Bane right now.
All right, back to the letter here. Achieving qualification as a professional dog trainer is not for everyone at the level of behavioral training, behavior modification, and successful rehabilitation that CanineRevolution Dog Training provides. CanineRevolution Dog Training's professional dog training certification program holds an attrition rate of 67% due to the high level of standards required to achieve certification. And what that means is 67% of people that begin the apprenticeship, they don't achieve certification for one reason or the other. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, that's okay. That's good. They figure out, maybe it's not for them. Maybe they're not ready to handle the super aggressive bulldog. Sometimes they don't want to handle the super aggressive Yorkie. I don't know.
Why'd you look at me?
That was Chris's first dog.
Specialist.
All right, so that's okay, but that's the realism of it. And also, we put this in the informational letter to keep it real. We want you to know there's a standard, and the standard is always raising. The bar always shifts up. All right. A certified professional dog trainer does much more than simply train dogs. A professional dog trainer must be able to adapt and be flexible with each dog that needs to be trained or rehabilitated, and utilize the canine learning theory and principles to be able to adjust on the go with each dog. A dog being trained may have a serious case history. So we've trained a number of dogs that they've got a history of causing major damage to people, to other dogs, to their owners, to other animals. And so the owner hires us to resolve that. That's our job. And luckily, with our current setup, we've got people around to train with. We've got other dogs around to train with. We've got cats around to train with. We got chickens around to train with. So we're trying to set up our environment to be as conducive to the dog's rehabilitation as much as possible. And we do have, for anybody that's interested that reaches out to us that wants to do an apprenticeship, we have a list of, some of the case histories that we've taken care of, and we're not going to go through that here. But, the list is provided so that anyone that's interested in a professional dog trainer apprenticeship can understand some of the serious case histories that they're going to be handling. I've had people come up to me before and say, hey, I want to be a dog trainer. I'm scared of pit bulls. It's like, okay, well, you're going to be training pit bulls.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, you're not going to be like, hey, I just want to deal with the Yorkies. I want to be the Yorkie specialist. Cool, that's cool. But you still have to also be able to train all of these other cases, because it's not like we don't select, the clients that we get. It's kind of like a first come, first serve basis that we have it. Lexi might get an aggressive pit bull. I might get an aggressive Yorkie. Like, it's not, you're going to get what you get, first come, first serve, and you got to be able to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Now, we will have clients that they specifically want Lexi. I only want Lexi to train my dog. That's true. That's cool. We'll let Lexi do it.
Yeah.
I only want Chris to touch my dog. That's cool. Chris will do it, But, so you can definitely request one of our trainers. No big deal.
For sure.
Good to go. All right, back to the letter. A certified professional dog trainer will also drive to the homes of dogs and owners with their personal vehicle. A dog and owner could live over 50 miles away from CanineRevolution dog training, and the assigned trainer will need to make that transit for consultations, pickups, returns, follow-ups, etc. A trainer will typically have 2 client appointments per day, and appointments could be anywhere in the Charleston area. Out of state or out of the area appointments can be scheduled as well on a case-by-case basis. So we'll stop right there. One of the things we do for our clients, we go to them. Unless they want to come to us, they can come to us, but we go to them. Even if they're out of state, even if they're 4 hours away, 6 hours away, 17 hours away. Obviously there's costs that are involved with that, but as a trainer, you might be traveling sometimes out of your normal area to help a dog, to help an owner. That's what we do. We help dogs, we help owners, Me personally, I don't really like staying away from, my headquarters here. So if I have to travel 4.5 hours to take a dog home, I leave early in the morning. I go train with the dog and owner all day, then I come back. And it's a long day, Chris, on the other hand, he prefers, get a hotel in the area, stay in the area.
With a hot tub. Hotel with a hot tub.
All right, back to the letter here. Due to the nature of dog training, where dogs are living, breathing beings, and the dog owners are as well. They are, in fact, living, breathing beings. Sometimes the owners do not sync well with the training protocols, and they might require extensive coaching to assist them. This can be frustrating for both the trainer and the dog owner. However, the trainer must remain calm, confident, relaxed, respectful, and professional with the dog owner, no matter how aggravated the owner may become. Additionally, we'll pause right there. All right, so we're talking about, sometimes owners and their dogs, they might not sync up well. Sometimes owners don't really want to follow training protocols. They get a little bit aggravated. We still got to be respectful and professional. You guys have anything you want to add about that? Because that can be a big challenge, for someone that wants to be a dog trainer. They got to understand, hey, you might have someone that's upset with you. You still got to resolve that in a professional way.
Yeah, the job as a whole, client, aggravated client aside, is stressful. We operate at a high level of stress. And it's not a bad thing. It's manageable. The job is extremely enjoyable. But you have 1,000 things going on at once. You have these dogs, their different progressions, their different issues. You have your clients, with their different speed bumps that they may be encountering once the dog returns home. Scheduling your appointments, scheduling your transit, everything. It's just you have so much going on at one point. So you're going to be stressed. So if you can't handle stress well, or you can't handle confrontation well, not really going to be able to make it through that progression. Now, that being said, obviously staying calm, confident, control the environment. Sometimes these people are just going to unload on you. There may not even be about you or the dog. It may be about something in your life, in their life. And that's just something you're going to have to understand and just take. And then you have to keep presenting the information, keep working with them, and hopefully eventually they see what you're saying. Sometimes I've done 2 or 3 follow-ups where I'm saying the exact same thing that I've said at the return and in those past follow-ups. And then it clicks. They're like, oh, well, I'm not doing this, so this must be why this is happening. And then I can progress with you and work from that point. Mm-hmm. As long as you want me to keep working with you, I'm going to do it. I've done extra follow-ups for people, at that point, just compensated just because we're working through the same scenario over and over and over again until they get it. Mm-hmm. The important thing to us is you being successful. But you are going to encounter these things for the people who are looking at being a prospective dog trainer. There's going to be these issues that arise, and you're going to have to be able to handle it.
Mm-hmm. Good to go. So you might deal with an upset client. You might deal with an upset owner. Sometimes you might just be someone that person needs to talk to. Maybe they're having other problems in their life that don't involve the dog at all, and they just want to talk. And, that's just what you do as a dog trainer, So it has to be genuine, and you got to really care about the people. And we always say passion comes first. Like Kevin said, he'll do extra follow-ups. We don't charge for those. We're trying to make sure that you and your dog are good to go. You know what I'm saying? It's because we have a passion for what we do a passion for the dog, a passion for the dog owner. We really care about the dog owner and the dog. We want you guys to be successful. But back to what we're here for. If you want to be a professional dog trainer, you got to think like that. You got to operate like that. You know what I'm saying? All right, back to the letter. Additionally, a professional dog trainer handles information requests from those interested in dog training and may spend a significant amount of time on the phone with prospective clients or emailing them. Last week, Lexi had a pretty busy week. She was the on-call trainer. She was on the phone a lot, taking care of people, emailing them. This week, Kevin's had a pretty busy week.
She had a busy week too.
So, that's just one of the things. Again, if you say, I want to be a dog trainer, I just want to work with dogs. Well, you also have to do all the functions that support, the work with the dogs. Back to the letter. Trainers use their personal cell phones and laptops for these administrative functions. Additionally, a professional dog trainer must be able to make decisions and good judgment calls, not just with dogs and owners, but also in scheduling. They will need to look at the big picture of the day, the week, the month, the year to ensure that scheduling requirements are completed appropriately. Right? So that's another thing Kevin already alluded to. You got a lot of stuff going on. Once you're certified, you're doing your own thing. We do have daily huddles as a team. We do have weekly meetings as a team. We're always here to support each other. But if I'm doing, I'm a certified trainer, I'm doing my thing. I'm training my dogs. I'm coordinating with my people. I'm responding to their emails and texts and calling them on the phone and all that. I'm also building out my schedule for going to visit with this person, going to visit with that person. If I'm not disciplined enough or have a good big picture outlook, long range or short range planning on a week, I could overlap appointments very easily. And then, that makes me very unprofessional because I'm not meeting my appointment times. How many times you guys have someone come to you for a service and they're late? Mm-hmm. That is not good to go.
Oh, it drives me insane.
That's not our standard. How many times have you done an appointment and people say, you're always early, you're always on time? I always know when you're coming, you're going to be 15 minutes early. I always know you're going to be 10 minutes early. I've had people get upset at me. Why are you 10 minutes early?
You said you're so early. I'm not ready.
Yeah, you said you're going to be here at 3. Why are you here at 2:50? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'll hang out till you're ready, So, but that is a comment that I get all the time. I always know when you're coming, you're going to be early. And that's a standard that we have. That's something that we live by. That's our professionalism. You know what I'm saying? That's a high level professionalism. So back to the letter. This information is provided so that anyone interested in a trainer apprenticeship can understand some of the requirements that a professional dog trainer maintains daily. So every day we're doing that, right? Good to go. Now, backing that up, we're talking about, hey, the trainer's got a lot going on. Well, that's why we've built out an entire team to help share our responsibilities. If Lexi has to go to James Island and Folly Beach in an afternoon, we got to make sure the dogs are taken care of that are under our care. That's why we have training assistants, right? To help us take care of those dogs, maintain their training, keep exercising them, keep working them. That's our mission. So we're balancing out responsibilities there. Now, the training assistant position is perfect for someone that says, I want to work with dogs, but I don't want to work with people. Good to go. We got that covered. You know what I'm saying?
You can work dogs all day.
All day. Good to go. All right, so now we're going to get into the portion of the letter that details the different phases of apprenticeship and all the line items that are there, okay? So this section is called Professional Dog Trainers. The development and qualification of a CanineRevolution dog training professional dog trainer follows the below pipeline. Any step in this pipeline can be omitted by the founder, which is me, or any additional steps may be added on a case-by-case basis to ensure maximum success for the trainer apprentice. Now we'll pause right there. Maximum success for the trainer apprentice. So our goal, again, is to make a bulletproof professional dog trainer at our level. This is CanineRevolution dog training standard. This isn't online whoever standard. This isn't dog trainer school standard. This is our standard, high level, from our perspective. So with that being said, we're trying to ensure maximum success for our trainers. So we're going to adjust things as needed. But this pipeline overall, the progression, helps that trainer build up to be bulletproof. Okay? So phase 1, training assistant. Prior to beginning the trainer-apprentice pipeline, the prospective trainer shall conduct a period of time serving as a training assistant. The prospective trainer-apprentice shall perform a minimum of up to 90 days of training assistant duties. So we'll stop right there. Again, training assistants every day, they're working with the dogs, training, exercise, caretaking, dealing with people that are coming to the property to pick up a dog, take a dog home from continued education training programs and things like that. So that is the foundation of what we do. So you got to understand what that responsibility requires. So you're going to do some time learning those responsibilities, and also that's like basic, like some of the things you learn how to hold a leash properly. That's pretty basic, but very important. You know what I'm saying? How do you do how do you maintain obedience? How do you use this piece of equipment? How do you issue, this food? How do you set up this kennel? How do you operate a treadmill with a dog? You know what I'm saying? So basic duties, but the foundation of what we do. And they're actually not that basic. We've had people that come in to a training assistant position. They've been working at doggy daycares their whole life, and they're like, holy cow, I didn't know any of this information. Thinking back on when I was at the doggy daycare, it's like such, not good to go. You know what I'm saying?
Chaos.
So there's some milestones that have to be met in this time frame. So at the same time that a trainer apprentice is operating as a training assistant in this phase 1, they've got to be demonstrating some milestones, completing some milestones. Number 1, a minimum of 15 minutes early to assign shifts in order to demonstrate the discipline required to be at appointments early. And you guys know I'm big on that. If someone says, I want to be a trainer apprentice, and they're not 15 minutes early to their shifts, there's a good possibility they're not even going to be able to enter the next phase of apprenticeship, because they're already demonstrating that they cannot be disciplined enough to be 15 minutes early. Because I'm thinking, hey, if they're a certified dog trainer, the expectation is that they're 15 minutes early. Now, if there's some traffic or an accident or whatever and they end up being 5 minutes early, that's still good to go. But if you plan to be 15 minutes early, something happens, you're still going to be early for the most part. You know what I'm saying? So if you can't be to your shift 15 minutes early, I don't have confidence that you're going to be able to be to your appointments 15 minutes early. You know what I'm saying? Number 2, a minimum of 5 consecutive trainer shadow days in order to understand the dynamic day-to-day requirements for trainers. So someone comes to me, hey, I think I want to be a dog trainer. All right, you're a training assistant. Let's have you shadow a trainer for 5 days consecutively to really understand what a trainer's doing day in and day out. Because they may see trainers training on the property. They're like, oh, that's cool. But they don't understand what's going on the rest of the day. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes trainers have extremely long days. Sometimes they have shorter days. It is what it is with the job. You know what I'm saying? Number 3, above average performance in training assistant duties in order to demonstrate the ability to lead others. I've had a lot of people that have worked in the training assistant position before, and they've come to me, hey, this person's not doing this. This person's not doing that. I don't know about this. I don't know about. I'm like, okay. You got to be a peer leader. If you can't lead your peers, how can I see you leading someone you don't even know, a dog owner, in their home with their dog? How can you lead them if you can't lead your peers in our work environment? You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're looking for. And again, we're not expecting you as a trainer apprentice to be perfect in all this stuff, or at least the peer leadership. Like, that's a learned thing. We have to teach you how to do that. Obviously, the 15 minutes early, like that's pretty cut and dry. 15 minutes early. You know what I'm saying? Number 4, demonstrate superior attention to detail, going above and beyond in duties. Calm, confident, relaxed demeanor in order to demonstrate the ability to maintain a proper mental or energy state while holding a high standard. So if you have attention to detail in the little things, when you have more responsibility, you should be able to sustain that attention to detail. If you're going above and beyond in your duties as a training assistant, if you're a certified trainer, that means you're going to carry those behavior habits over. Like Kevin said, hey, I'm going to do extra follow-ups to make sure you're good to go. That's going above and beyond your duties. calm, confident, relaxed. If you can't be calm, confident, relaxed in a training assistant position, I'm not confident you're going to be calm, confident, relaxed when you're in someone's house with them and they're upset at you. You know what I'm saying? Again, some of these things can be learned and developed, but that's what we're looking for. All right. Number 5, a minimum of 3 book reports on designated reading assignments in order to demonstrate a passion for dog and owner training, which requires constant detailed learning. Now you may be thinking, 3 book reports? What the hell? I want to be a professional dog. You're telling me I got to do a book report? Yeah, I'm telling you got to do a book report.
Double-spaced MLA format.
You know, because I want to see, you know, if I give you 3 books to read, what information do you take out of that reading? Are you actually doing the reading? Are you taking the time to write up the book report? Or do you say, you know what, that's just, I'm not doing that. Okay, roger that. If you can't do a simple book report on a subject that you say you want to be a professional dog trainer, you're saying you want to master this subject, you can't read books on it, you're not ready to learn at a higher level. You know what I'm saying?
And understand that's not stopping at the apprenticeship. Like, we still, as trainers, meet on a weekly basis and have a little book discussion.
Oh, you guys got assigned reading. We have assigned reading.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Sounds like I already finished the book.
No. All right. Number 6, verbal communication board on assigned topics with all current professional dog trainers on staff and any other designated staff member as assigned by the founder, which is me, in order to demonstrate the ability to retain information and clearly communicate verbally, even in times of stress, as will be experienced with dog owners. So what this looks like is, you know, we have a table, we have all the dog trainers and anyone else I need to bring to the table, like admin, we might have her come to the table, you know. So like, we might have Bunny come to the table. Production, has some video stuff, but so you come to the table, and it's the whole purpose is stress you out just a little bit and see if you can clearly, effectively communicate information you already know. So the things that we ask you questions about in this table discussion, verbal communication board, is training assistant procedures. We have a binder, SOP, with all training assistant procedures written out in a written format, in addition to hands-on learning. After you do this 90 days, you should be very fluent in that information. Then also the 3 books. We'll take information out of those books. We'll ask you questions on that. So, you know, that's kind of the purpose of it. And see how you can communicate information you already know. It's not information you don't know. Can you communicate it when asked a question? And it's not, you know, like, oh, this person can't communicate. That's not what it's about. It's about, okay, you know, they're doing pretty good, or, you know, maybe they're a little bit stressed, they're having a hard time. That's okay. We can help them develop that skill set, you know what I'm saying? Or if someone can't say anything, can't recite anything, I don't know. It's like, okay, you know, well, then we'll pause here and maybe we'll do another board before we proceed into the next phase of trainer apprenticeship. Because again, you need to know your basic training assistant duties, for example. If you can't even talk about basic training assistant duties, then you're not ready to learn more stuff. You get what I'm saying? So that's the end of phase 1. Do you guys have any comments on that?
Good to go.
No? Lexi, what was your, since you have gone through the most revised apprenticeship version, what do you recall from phase 1?
I mean, with the shadow days, specifically, I remember one of the shadow days that we had, I was in the truck with you and we got stuck. It was like an hour and a half of traffic, and we were, you know,
in the Ram. You guys got stuck?
Well, no, not stuck. Like stuck in traffic.
Well, let's just clear that the Ram doesn't get stuck. Let's just clear that up.
We were stuck in traffic, not because it's a Ram, just because there was cars on the road.
We could have pushed them out of the way, but you know, we didn't want to, you know, mess up their cars. A lot of Fords.
Right.
But I remember we were sitting there and you had asked me, and this was like just a shadow day, so we hadn't like done any information or anything like that, but you had basically given me a critical thinking scenario. How would you teach a dog to do this? Run me through step by step. And, you know, I hadn't taught a dog to do anything up to that point. I hadn't even, trained my family's dogs to like sit and down. That's the only thing I had done. So it was like, anything besides that, I was, unsure. But, I feel like human default is almost just they ask you a question like that. You're like, I don't know. But the whole point of the thing was, Chad asked you the question. He's seeing, not necessarily looking for 100% the right answer. But I remember it was like at that point where I was like, you're not allowed to say, I don't know. It's, you're going to work through it. So, and like I said, we were in the truck for an hour and a half. So, and it took me until we arrived on the property and I was like, oh my gosh, that's how you do it. And like, cause Chad was like, we were working through the scenario, but you would like, I'd come up with an answer and Chad would be like, okay, what's next? And I'd be like, what? It took me 20 minutes to come up with that. But then just, it was at that point where I was like, okay, a lot of this, and like we already talked about, is critical thinking. So it's not just you are given a scenario, you're like, well, I don't know, and that's kind of the end of it. You just tell me what to do. Because it's not, like we've already said, one specific answer for everything, but also just being able to work through that scenario. So that was something that, stood out for me for my shadow days, was already getting, like Chad was kind of changing, the behavior of my mind instead of just, well, I don't know. It's, how do you work through it? So that was something that stood out to me for my shadow day. But then also you did say at the round table, you're like, stress you out just a little bit. That was not a little bit. I will say Chris and Chad stressed me out a little bit. Kevin stressed me out a lot of bit.
What'd you do, Kevin?
So, no, I remember for the round table, Kevin asked me a question. Every time Chad and Chris asked me a question, I was like, okay, this is fine. Every time Kevin asked me a question, I was like, oh, shoot, here he goes. Kevin's talking. But it was because Kevin would ask you a question, you'd give an answer, and then Kevin in that scenario like pretended to be like a little bit of an angry person like picking up their dog.
Pretended? Oh.
Yeah. An angry person like picking up their dog. So he would go, but blah, 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 blah. And I was like, but I answered the question. I was like, what else do you want me to do? But I just think that, even that was already starting to add a little bit of stress. How are you going to work through it? Which, those were probably the two most outstanding things I would remember from phase one.
It's designed to see how you think.
Yeah.
You could have been 100% wrong.
Yeah.
But we want to see how you arrived to that answer.
Yeah.
Well, and that's important too, because even as a certified trainer, you may encounter a case, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I need you to train the dog. You, as a certified trainer, oh my gosh, I've never handled this before, right? Mm-hmm. Default, like Lexi said, default might be like, I don't know how to do this. Wait a minute, right? Fall back on that learning theory, the science, everything that we're learning in these phases, right? And you can troubleshoot just about any scenario.
But I will say too, going to the round table, it is pretty intimidating because you see the three of them like sitting in the backyard and they're just like, okay, Lexi, it's time. And then you just have to walk across the yard. And it's like, I don't even know how many feet that is, but it feels like forever because you guys are just staring.
Like 50
and
yards.
it's like you see Chad, Chris, and Kevin, who are obviously a lot bigger than I am. And I go sit at the table and I'm like, okay, I'm ready.
I'm not a lot bigger than you.
Okay, maybe not Chris, but
Four of us now, Lexi.
yeah.
Now
Well, yeah.
you get to be on that side.
Yeah, now it's me too. But
And so, throughout the whole apprenticeship, and we talk about this when you're doing the apprenticeship, like whenever Lexi started, Kevin started, Chris started, like the process is designed to incur stress upon you because when you're a professional dog trainer certified, there's going to be stressful situations. You got to operate under that stress, So we are going to stress you out a little bit sometimes stress you out a lot of it. We'll release Kevin at the round table with the sunglasses. We'll let him go ham,
it was good though. It did
Yeah.
help me, learn how to work through it for sure.
And that'll build up the apprentice's confidence when you get into a situation when you're by yourself and you got someone that, might be a little bit intimidating or stressful. You're like, oh, no big deal. I've dealt with Kevin.
It's better if you freeze with me instead of them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and the thing is, Kevin, like the stuff that Kevin did was never like crazy over the top. It's like based on realistic scenarios that we've all run into as trainers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right, back to the letter. Phase 2 of apprenticeship. We call this the fundamentals of dog training. During phase 2, the trainer apprentice shall be taught and evaluated on the following. Number 1, leash application. Number 2, canine learning theory. Number 3, dog training terminology. Number 4, founder's training philosophy. Number 5, training progressions. So in each one of these subjects, It's basically like a lecture format. We sit down at a table, I have some handouts, some notes from that lesson. We talk about it, we demonstrate it, go through it, good to go, right? Phase 2 will last a period of no less than 7 days, but it can last longer depending on operational requirements of the lead trainer. So keep in mind, while we're training apprentices, we still got to operate. So sometimes things happen. We need to shift our schedule, be flexible. So we'll do that. The Phase 2 assessments will be taken by the trainer apprentice from the lead trainer. If the trainer apprentice fails the Phase 2 assessments, they will be given a 2-day remedial period to retake the assessments. If the trainer apprentice fails the retake, a review board consisting of all current certified professional dog trainers on staff will review the trainer apprentice's file and determine if they will be able to enter another remedial period or be dropped from the program. So you basically get a chance to take the test. If you fail the test, you get 2 days to study and then retake it. And if you fail the second take, the trainers are going to meet and discuss whether or not they believe you should continue in the apprenticeship or be dropped from the program. The trainer apprentice must complete the following to graduate from Phase 2. Number 1, they have to pass a verbal assessment. So another verbal assessment that Lexi talked about where we're asking you questions. Number 2, 90% pass of written assessment on canine learning theory, dog training terminology, and training progressions for basic and advanced training. Number 3, pass of a leash application practical assessment. So we'll ask you to grab a leash. Show me this, show me that. How do you do this? How do you do that? You got to be really good about handling a leash, because if you get into a sticky situation with a dog that could cause some major damage to you, you got to be able to maintain safety for you and the dog, right? And handling the leash properly is going to enable you to do that. Okay, so those are the requirements to graduate from Phase 2. Lexi, anything to mention?
I mean, I would just say that's where, you learn the majority of, new information. So it is, a week long, but it is, a ton of information is learned during that time. I feel like almost everything that I learned in that week was all new to me. It's all the science behind it. And then just going over the packets. But I mean, that would be the only part that had, I would say, like pop quizzes, just because, we would just, go in, sit down, and then before we would start the next lesson, you would just, pop quiz for, the lesson the day before, making sure we're paying attention. But I mean, I would say I actually enjoyed that phase a lot because it taught me, everything.
You didn't enjoy the other phases?
No, I did. But I surprisingly enjoyed the sit in a chair,
phases,
get taught, but, packets and things like that.
Yeah. Kevin must have been a little less aggressive in this phase.
I think it was mostly Chad talking. That's why it was good to go.
I do like the canine learning theory. That's very good information. I also like terminology.
Yeah, he does.
It's really good.
He really does.
I also like training progressions. Really good. I like it all. Good to go. All right, going into Phase 3. Phase 3 we call dog intensive training. During this phase, the trainer apprentice will learn the following topics in both lecture and practical application. Number 1, dog training philosophy, theory, and progressions. Number 2, dog personalities and characteristics. Number 3, marker communication and reward system. Number 4, high value reward placement and timing. Number 5, teaching obedience work. Number 6, remote collar conditioning and application. Number 7, socialization. Number 8, generalization and distraction work. Number 9, training the unmotivated dog. Number 10, behavior modification and rehabilitation. So those are the line items, the major topics we're covering. The following milestones must be completed under the supervision of the lead trainer prior to advancing to Phase 4. Number 1, successful training of a minimum of 10 fundamental, basic, or advanced training program dogs. Number 2, 90% pass of knowledge assessment written examination. And then if you fail that examination, you do get a remedial period. And it's basically, if you fail it a second time, the trainers meet, talk about it, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So, Kevin, anything to mention about Phase 3?
That's a long test, man. Especially when you got to take it twice.
So when Kevin was an apprentice, he actually failed the phase 3 test the first time he took it, and I couldn't. I was like, "What? He failed?" And it takes a while to take the test. Let's just say it's like 6 to 8 hours to take it.
I had the knowledge. That's where trying to convey it, and again, the way that I understood. But did my remedial period. Obviously, the next time I took tests, a lot better. Good to go.
Good to go. Lexi, anything to add on phase 3?
I mean, we talk, a lot about the test, and yes, the test is, a really big part of it, because it's not like, you think tests are like, oh, multiple choice, how could it be 6 to 8 hours? It's every question you're going to be writing an essay.
Some of your answers are like this long.
Some of my answers, Google would be like, this is too long to fit. Please summarize. And I was like, well, crap. Like, what are we going to do now? But that test is a big part of it. We started inside, then, 3 hours later, you're like, okay, now I have to go outside. You're standing, you're sitting, there's things going on because now you have to, change environment. Maybe you're outside, there's other things going on. So yes, the test is a big part of it, but I think, training those first 10 dogs is really whenever you start to realize that, the first dog that I had, super, super easy. She was a puppy. It was the most generic dog. You could have probably learned off of she, no issues or anything like that. And then it's by, I think my third or maybe fourth dog. I remember, okay, this is how you're learning how to do this for each specific dog. So it's, yes, the test is a really big part of it. But those first, at least 10 dogs that you have, you're really figuring out, okay, this is what I do, if the dog's not as easy as my first dog was, or, this is, what I do if the dog has, like you're talking about behavior rehabilitation. It's all those things you are learning in those first 10 dogs just as important as the test.
Yeah. Good to go. That test is a banger.
I still have the study guide.
I still have the test, actually.
Good to go.
Yeah.
Probably still have that for a lot of months.
Oh, gosh, no. I would never do that.
It's like one of those things. Once you're through it, you're like, nope, everyone else
Everybody's got to go through it, too.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted to save my answers because I was like, wow, I felt proud. Because after you do a test for 8 hours, you're like, okay, I want to save this.
I think
Especially
she has it framed on her wall. I think I saw that at her apartment.
No, that's way too long.
I could see I could see someone getting to the test and then looking at it and maybe doing it for an hour and be like, you know what, I'm not doing this.
The first one, I was bouncing around.
It goes through your mind. I will say that. It does go through your mind. You're like, why am I doing this? You're like, how come this is what I'm doing? But 100% worth it.
The test is not just assessing your knowledge. It's also assessing your dedication. Mm-hmm. That's why it's so long. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Legit assessing your dedication. Are you dedicated enough to stay with it?
I mean, I think it was 100 questions. I think mine was at least. Yeah. It was around 100. And yes, every single one's an essay. So it's 100, essay questions.
My first one, I think, was about 6.5 hours. Yeah. And the second one, even though I was more confident, more fluid at that point, I think it still took me 4 hours.
Yeah.
And let's say you do have a remedial test. It's not the same as the first one.
Right.
There's different.
I was like, oh, yeah, I got this. I was like, what is this?
This is different.
This wasn't on the first one.
Yeah. All right. Back to the letter going into phase 4. Phase 4, we call this dog owner intensive training. So phase 3, so if you think about it systematically, phase 1, training assistant. Phase 2, fundamentals of dog training. Phase 3, dog intensive training. Phase 4, dog owner intensive training. During this phase, the trainer apprentice should have an understanding of how to train dogs and will learn the following topics in both lecture and practical application. Number 1, dog owner training philosophy and theory. Number 2, dog owner categories. Number 3, dog owner case studies. Number 4, phone call protocol. Number 5, consultation protocol. Number 6, dog intake protocol. Number 7, training session protocol. Number 8, dog return protocol. Number 9, follow-up session protocol. Number 10, group class protocol. The following milestones must be completed under the supervision of the lead trainer prior to advancing to phase 5. Number 1, successful completion of 10 consultations. That's the one that trips most people up. They struggle on getting 10 consultations. Number 2, successful intake, training, and return of 5 dogs. Number 3, successful instruction of 5 follow-up sessions. Number 4, successful team lead responsibility of group classes. Lexi, anything to add about phase 4?
I mean, that's a big one. Phase 4 is, up until then, you haven't been doing any, not really any client relations. You're seeing, you've been training the dogs, but it's, that your supervising trainer is doing all the client relations. So, you're seeing a lot of it. But then it's once you get to that phase, you're like, okay, I've been watching this. Now it's my turn. And so that is, I would probably say the hardest, just because now you're adding in everything now, like we've talked about. Now you're working with clients, which is different. There's different ways that you have to, work through with the client stuff. But it's also, realizing that in that phase, you can kind of feel like I have to stay to the script because, otherwise I'm going to get, caught off guard, or, this is what I have to cover. But it's also like, there's not really a script. It's the client. So you go in, yes, you should have, bullet points that you want to cover, but you also have to relate to the client. So it's not just, I'm going to go in and cover all this information. Now I'm going to leave. I'm going to go in, I'm going to build a relationship. I'm still going to hit the points that we need to hit. But I mean, I would say that's a really, really big one. You're learning all about the people.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes, I was your supervisor trainer during this phase. Sometimes Chris was your supervisor. Mm-hmm. Sometimes Kevin was your supervisor. Mm-hmm. And you may have picked up different things from all of us. Can you talk a little bit about, you got different supervisors. How does that help you, or do you pick up different things from different people? Is it good? Is it not so good?
Oh boy!
You
look at me and smile.
Keep looking at Chris.
So that's just because you guys have obviously mentioned that I do things very similar to the way that Chris does things, and I think that is in part because I feel like the majority of my dogs were just conveniently with Chris. But still, with that being said, it's, yes, I am similar to Chris because I've learned things from him. But, having, even watching all 3 of you guys do client relations in the phase before that, the just where I'm training is I'm learning, bits and pieces from every single one of you guys. So, Chris does it one way, Kevin does it, another way. All the ways are similar. Chad does it another way. They're all super similar. They're all doing the job correctly 100%, but, they do it a little bit differently. So I would say, just learning from all 3 of you guys kind of gives you a good mixture. And then you find out, Kevin does this also works for me, or Chris does it this way. This also works for me. Like I know Chris does, one part of his returns are a little different just because he does it in a different order than us, which isn't, exactly wrong. 'Cause it's, working, and that's what works for him. It's just, and, you can try that. So, I saw Chris's returns, I've tried that, and then it's like, I kind of like the way, maybe Chad or Kevin does their order a little bit better, but it's, having all those different perspectives. And then also even, as we debrief after every single appointment, every one of you guys gives me, different things that you guys have picked up on, while we were in that appointment. And then I don't know, I find that beneficial too, because you guys pick up on different things that I do as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. Is one of the things that we do throughout the apprenticeship, we call it the debrief. So after an appointment, for example, we as the trainer, the supervisor trainer, we expect the apprentice to take lead of us and initiate debrief procedure, and the debrief is not about, I did this wrong, I did that. The debrief is about overall, how did the session go? What are some major takeaways? What worked really well? What are some lessons learned that we can take to improve upon in the future? And I know, when Lexi was going through the apprenticeship, we had some debrief points. We talk, hey, I would tweak this, tweak that. You did really good here, really good there. Maybe not do this, maybe not do that, so that happened with everybody. And even when we're certified, we still debrief each other. Mm-hmm. Like Chris said, we trainers, we assign ourselves a book, reading assignments. We meet once a week to discuss that, and we'll still debrief scenarios. Hey, what'd you guys have going on this week? Hey, I had this. This is what I learned. This is what I took away. You know what I'm saying? Whether it be a dog debrief or a dog owner debrief or seeing someone randomly out in public debrief, so debrief is a huge part of our learning process. Education is ongoing, Chris, Kevin, you guys got anything to add about phase 4?
Yeah, Lexi would chase me to my truck. She wanted to
get
do it
the
right then
debrief.
and there
Yeah,
while
yeah,
it was
yeah.
fresh. I'm like, what do you want?
Kevin would go, where are you going? Your car's over there. And I was like, yeah, but yours is over here.
At the point, it just became a game to me. So
You try to run. I was like, I can call you. I can call you on the way.
Yeah.
I think this is the phase where you start to see you got to have that discipline. This is where the discipline comes in. Time management, like all of these different factors start to come in, because prior to this, you're just working dogs, and there can be days where you could spend the whole entire workday working those dogs, building those progressions. Now you start to realize, as a certified trainer, you don't have all day to spend training the dog. You've got to get your training done, then you got to meet with clients, you've got to do emails, you got to do phone calls, you got to do info requests. There's all these other things that you have to balance, and you have to be, if you're not disciplined, you're going to fall apart. You're not going to be able to sustain. So I think this is that phase where you start to see the discipline that it takes to be a certified trainer, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of responsibilities that have to be balanced out. What about completing 10 consultations? Any comments on that? Anybody?
That I mean, the consultations will get you. There's a lot of them, and it's consultations are almost with all your other appointments, you have follow-ups, you have returns, you kind of have what you're gonna do, because you're like, okay, my goal is to train the owner. Everything that I did with their dog, intake, or a pickup, you're like, okay, I'm going to pick up the dog. Consultations is kind of, they're way more open than that. You've never met these people. You're just building a relationship. Anything can happen. Yes, all of our appointments, anything can happen, but I just feel like consultations are a little bit different in that way. You're going in, you're basically just, talking to them, answering questions, not even like your agenda isn't, I have to get this person to sign up. It's, some consultations, you're just going in, you're like, I can give you advice in here, or I can, give you answers for this, but it's mostly just, building that relationship, which is important to remember too. Because with the other, appointments like we're talking about, you do have, we're going to get these things done while building a relationship, but sometimes, consultations is just relationship building. And so it's knowing how to do that, as well as knowing how to convey proper information to them.
Mm-hmm. One of the difficult things is most people, when they start that, they want to sell, they want to get someone to, hey, let me sign you up for this program or that program. And our philosophy as a whole is that's just the wrong approach. You know what I'm saying? Yes, of course we need people to sign up for our program so we can continue to earn a living. That's what we do, but our passion is dog training. Our passion is helping people. So we approach the consultation as, hey, we're going in to help somebody. You know what I'm saying? We're going in with the mission to, what do you guys need help with? How can I help you? And of course, the programs and what we offer probably is going to come up in that conversation. Sometimes not, but sometimes it will. So of course we're going to talk about that, but our goal is, how can we help you? What are you struggling with? What can we do? Hey, we did a podcast on that. Hey, we did a YouTube video on this. Check that out. Let me know if you have questions. Relationship building, like Lexi said, but 10 consultations may not sound like a lot.
It's a lot.
But actually it's a lot, especially when you start
fast.
And well, let's just say it's not 10 consultations. You have to pass. You have to successfully complete passing assessment of 10 consultations, and you're probably going to fail a couple.
And I mean, like Chad mentioned earlier, the bar is always raising. So you do your first consultation. Chad's a little more, kind of like, okay, that was your first one. These are, some things I want to see you progress on. And then as you do more consultations, it's like, okay, you fixed what we talked about last time. Now I have a couple more points. Now I have a couple more points. So it's not just doing them the same, but it's, raising the bar every single time. So, as you're getting to, number 7 or, number 8, it's like, okay, now the bar is up here. Where at the first one, it might have been right here, just making sure, you know how to do it. And then the bar, raises from there too.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, since Lexi got certified, she now has a reputation. She walks in to do a consultation for somebody. They're asking about training for a problem dog, but then there's a couple other dogs in the house that are not getting trained. The owner's not planning on training them. And by the time Lexi walks out, this person has signed up 3, 4, 5 dogs when she just went there to assess one dog. She signed all the dogs up in the house. She's got a reputation. double dog.
So
deal
she gets all
consultation.
consultations. I think that was
Sure,
what
give
you're
them
saying.
to me. Done enough now.
All right. Anything else you guys need to mention about phase 4?
I mean, I like consultations. I didn't probably in the beginning. I don't know. You probably would be able to tell me more.
failed a lot.
I failed a lot, definitely.
You failed a lot.
For sure, but I like them now. It's almost like a little adventurous. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
You never know what you're getting into. You might walk in and, a dog latches onto your arm before you
Yeah.
get through the threshold. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of, and then just being able, like, every dog is different, like we've been harping on, and being able to talk to that owner, establish a genuine relationship, start a relationship with that dog, be able to help them, give them resources. We just had a recent person, they actually signed up because we at the time we had like a 2 or 3 month wait list, which is pretty standard for us. They signed up to go ahead and lock in their spot. We did consultation. We sent them some info like, hey, check this podcast out, check out some of these videos. They call us back a couple of weeks later, hey, we don't need to train anymore. All of your resources have set us up for success.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
to
to
go.
us, we don't see that as a loss. Like, hey, okay, hey, we'll cancel your contract. You don't need training. Let us know if you have any other issues. Mission accomplished. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And there's somebody waiting to jump on that spot anyway. So good to go. All right. Then we go into phase 5. Phase 5 is what we call final assessment for qualification. And then it says, to achieve qualification as CanineRevolution professional dog trainer, the following assessments must be completed. So phase 5 is basically some assessments. Number 1, 90% pass of knowledge assessment, written examination. You got to pass 100% leash application assessment. You got to pass a verbal knowledge assessment, so another roundtable assessment, and you also have to pass a skill assessment. So then once you complete that, you're basically done. You're certified, good to go, right? So real quick, we'll talk about, we're not going to go into details of the compensation scheme for an apprentice. If you're interested in an apprenticeship, you can reach out to us. We'll definitely go through all that with you. We want to, again, the whole purpose of this is that someone that wants to be a dog trainer, they say, hey, I want to be a CanineRevolution dog trainer. We're going to be open and honest about everything. We want to give you all information up front because, we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time. It does take a lot of our time and resources to train an apprentice and certify an apprentice. You know what I'm saying? So we want to do it. However, we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time. You know what I'm saying? But basically, there's different compensation schemes throughout the whole apprenticeship based on the phase that's being completed. Again, we're not asking anyone to pay us money to learn our skill set, you know what I'm saying, like other places do. We want to be fair, but at the same time, remember, you're learning. So the compensation is going to be set up properly for someone that's learning things. And then once you're done learning, then it shifts a little bit, okay? But just remember, sometimes a professional dog trainer or an apprentice is going to have a long day. Sometimes they're going to have a short day. It's going to depend on what's going on that day, everything that's going on, so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes a trainer or an apprentice is going to get a dog that is not good to go to be handled by training assistants. They need special criteria, special protocols to help rehabilitate through some aggression before they're ready to be handled by everybody on the team. So in those cases, the trainer is going to be putting in more hours than normal, and that's part of the job. You know what I'm saying? Got a quick note here on the letter. Excuse me. Professional dog trainers and training apprentices are responsible for providing their own food rewards for training, their own cell phone, and their own laptop for administrative functions. Food rewards must primarily consist of beef, and most commonly used food rewards are hot dogs or Happy Howie beef rolls. Additionally, a professional dog trainer and apprentices use their personal vehicles to transport dogs, in addition to transiting to and from appointments. All right, we do have vehicle inspections. We have a vehicle inspection checklist. You got to complete that. So if you like smoking in your vehicle, that's not good to go. We don't want dogs smelling like smoke. We don't want dogs breathing in secondhand smoke. So Chris, for example, had to give up some old habits. You know what I'm saying? But he wanted to be a dog trainer. He made the commitment. Good to go.
And now I can breathe.
Now you can breathe.
Awesome.
All right, wrapping it all up. This informational letter serves as a general overview for what should be expected during the training pipeline in order to achieve qualification and certification as CanineRevolution dog training professional dog trainer. Let's see. If at any time the training pipeline the apprentice has questions, concerns, or is unclear, he or she should immediately seek further guidance and instruction from the founder. The learning process can be challenging. It can be frustrating. It is rewarding. However, it is designed to test the dedication, work ethic, and resolve of the apprentice while building the calm, confident, relaxed mentality needed in this profession. And that's the end of the letter. But I'll go ahead and mention after that, I try to be an open book. So, if Lexi's an apprentice and she has a question about something, she'd be able to come to me and talk about it. Open, effective, clear communication is what we believe in. If you have a question and it's fostering in your mind and you're not able to ask me about it, that's a red flag, because you got to be able to communicate to owners too. If you have a concern, you need to bring that up. So and at the end of all of our discussions, I always try to ask: does anybody have any thoughts, questions, comments, concerns we need to discuss? That's our time to talk about things. But also outside of those, like, anybody can come up and ask to speak with me. You know what I'm saying? So anything else you guys need to say? We'll kind of go around the table, starting with Chris. Anything to add? Anything? Let's say there's someone out there that I want to be a dog trainer. I'm getting amped up listening to your conversation. I want to be part of this team. I want to be part of this crew. I want to earn that title.
Yeah, start working out, for one.
Well, that's another thing. We do have weekly trainer workouts.
Yeah.
Maintain high level of physical fitness.
And that probably seems intense to a lot of people, but what we do is intense sometimes. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, like, you do have to be in good physical condition. We're dealing with live animals. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And we have some crazy cases sometimes. You do have to be in good physical condition. Like, everything that we talked about, I think this is pretty clear as to what it takes. The discipline is big. You've got to have some self-discipline. You know what I mean? You have to be able to use your time wisely. And that includes taking care of yourself as well. So, that was one of the things that I struggled with, is just diving too deeply into the work side of things, which is not bad. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you can let the things in your personal life start to slip. And so you have to have that discipline to be able to have that balance of giving your family the time that they deserve while also accomplishing the mission at work. You know what I mean? So discipline is huge.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the physical fitness piece, we're dealing with, athletic, strong animals, mm-hmm. dogs. However, sometimes you have a client, they live on the 4th floor apartment, and you got to transit up and down stairs like 4 or 5 times.
And still have composure.
And still be able to talk to them.
Yeah.
I've had people that want to ride their bike with their dog. I'm literally running next to their bike.
I remember that.
Coaching them. All right, do this, do that, to help them get their dog good to go on the bike. So, like, we're going to do what we need to do to help you meet your goals with your dog, but that means we have to be in enough physical condition, physical shape to handle those challenges,
just on a base level, you're providing these dogs that you're training, that you're responsible for training with physical stimulation. You know what I'm saying? So, like, at a minimum, you're walking several miles a day.
Oh, you're walking.
You're doing lots of walks with these dogs, and that's the minimum. That's not including the stairs and all that, running next to clients and stuff.
Let's talk about just the walking. That's a big shocker for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I remember on one of Kevin's shadow days when he was a trainer shadow, that was a long walk day in the middle of the summer, blistering heat.
I remember a particular media guy's first day. He was not expecting.
He remembers it vibrantly as well.
Yeah.
I think he was a little traumatized by all the walking we did.
Yep. And we'll take dogs out for distraction work. We're walking. The majority of your day as a dog trainer, you're on your feet, you're moving, you're walking. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times the meetings we stand up deliberately, and anyone that wants to be an apprentice, if we have an informational meeting, it's standing. We want to see if you're going to try and sit down or not. You know what I'm saying? But we do weekly trainer workouts to maintain a certain level of fitness, and we're all looking to constantly improve. You know what I'm saying? We're all looking to improve ourselves and each other, and keep raising the bar. And try to take a scoop of garlic a day, try to take a shot of fish oil a day. Get your protein and your carbs and your fats in. Good your macros in, good to go. So anyway, Kevin, you got anything else to add?
Yeah, it's it's hard. It's challenging. you're gonna get stressed. You're gonna get pissed. You may be listening and say, "Oh, well, I know this and this and this about dogs. I'll be good at this." Check that shit at the door, because I guarantee whatever you think you know, you're probably wrong. That was one of the biggest shockers to me, was just learning how intricate it was. And actually, somebody asked me, they're like, "What's the the craziest thing that you've learned since you became a dog trainer?" And it was like how terrible of a dog owner I was before becoming a dog trainer.
Right? We all were.
But yeah, I mean, it's it's definitely an uphill battle. So it does take a special type of person to do it. That's why the fail rate is as high as it is. But it's definitely obtainable if you want it enough. And unlike y'all, I don't really have to be. I don't have a family, so I can just do whatever.
We are your family, Kevin.
I can bring my dog with me to work, and I can just be here all day if I need to. No worries. Nobody's blowing up my phone.
Good to go. Lexi, anything else to add?
I mean, I know we've already mentioned it, but, a big part of it is dedication. So, we've gone over this letter. Chad went over this letter with me. But you don't really understand how much it is until you're in it. So it's like, even with me, like, I was totally dedicated. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I had the passion for, working with the dogs. So, it obviously didn't faze me, but it was kind of like, wow, this is a lot. This is not, like we've kind of already mentioned earlier, it's not just, I'm going to teach a dog new behaviors. And that's what my day to day is. It's, it includes all the things, things you're not even thinking about is, like you've mentioned, phone calls, emails all the time. It's like, I don't know, it's going to take, lots of dedication. You have to really, really want it and commit to it.
When you guys are doing the apprenticeship at certain phases, at certain things going on, were you pissed at me? I held a high standard. I demanded some things, some dedication. I may have done things you didn't think was fair.
I don't think so. I can honestly say no. Like,
What?
I've never really.
You weren't pissed at me?
I was never pissed at you.
I wasn't hard enough on you.
Because I know, because truly, I can separate those things, and I know you're holding the standard. And if you're coming at me with something, it's probably deserved, right? I probably legit messed something up. It's not like you're just being an asshole for no reason. You know what I'm saying?
Maybe.
So I'm just speaking for myself. Like, I was never pissed at you. I was more pissed at myself, right? For messing certain things up. I'm like, dang. And then, like, how do I troubleshoot to improve myself so that this doesn't happen? Like, I never personally put it on you and said, hey, I'm pissed at you. Could I be in general pissed? Yeah, I'm pissed at myself, pissed at the situation, maybe frustrated, like, oh my gosh, I got to get through this. But it was never personal towards you. I can say that for sure.
Kevin?
I mean, there are times in the moment where I was probably, frustrated, probably visibly frustrated. But as time went on, as I'd break that scenario down, again, just like Chris said, I'd be more angry at myself because I knew that I messed up. A lot of times I was frustrated was just directed towards me. Now I'm at the point to where if we have to have a conversation, I'm not going to get frustrated because I know that there's a reason that we're having that conversation. If I feel like it's a misunderstanding, we also have that open communication to where I can air my grievances if I have any, And so, when we talk and you say, you have anything else to add? I say no. Because I understand why we're there, and it's me, know. So I just take that and try to learn from it and try to avoid those.
Lexi?
I mean, I would only say there was only really one time that I was, frustrated, and we talked about it. We did, because you were like, "Has there been any times where I've frustrated you?" I was like, "Yes, just
Yes.
the other day,
Right
actually,"
now.
and I've been wanting to talk to you about it. But then just one other thing is like. And this was almost like a little bit frustrating at first, but it still wasn't frustration towards you or any of you guys. It's just whenever, and Chad did mention, okay, we encourage asking questions. You do. But you also don't just give the answer.
We encourage finding answers too.
So it's not you ask a question, here's the answer. It's you ask a question, you guys turn it back on us, say, well, what do you think first? And then we talk through it. But it's like, and that's not even exactly frustrating. It's just like, well, you told me to ask questions if I was confused. I'm asking questions. Now I'm even more confused. But it's not like you don't end up confused. It's, and the reason you guys do it is so that, we're learning. We're not just given the answer. It's, once again, teaching us how to critically think. So, that could be kind of taken as a frustrating scenario. But I wouldn't really say I was frustrated at any of you guys.
Yeah.
Just stressful.
Yeah.
There will be frustration. It may not be at a certain person. It may be just in the process. It may be at things going on. but we are a team. You know, we're going to try and work through it. You know.
Well, and the thing is, in life, there's frustration.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There's stress in life. So, like, even being a certified trainer, you're going to deal with clients. You're going to deal with dogs. You're going to deal with all sorts of different components that are going to frustrate you. You have to learn how to deal with that to become a better person.
Yeah.
And so that's why we do what we do.
That's where checking the shit out the door comes in too.
Yeah.
You know, if I can't sit here and say, hey, you know, you're incorrect, you know, this is why, and work you through it, and you shut down on me, you're not absorbing the information, then we're not making really any progress.
Yeah.
You know, especially if somebody is new coming in, like a prospective training assistant, they start the training pipeline, I tell them something, and they you know, shut me down. I've been doing this as long as some of the guys at table, but I'm at like a 3 year and some change mark right now. Like, you're really gonna shut me down?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things to where it's all designed to help you progress, but you have to be willing to progress.
Well, even amongst ourselves, like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
got to check the ego. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's times where sometimes you can get frustrated and not realize you're getting frustrated. And maybe Kevin, with an outside perspective, is watching me. Hey, man, you need to take a break. And then you're like, okay, yeah, I could have an ego about that and be like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. Let me do my thing. You know what I'm saying? Or I could check my ego at the door and say, hey, okay, clearly I'm if Kevin is noticing that I'm getting frustrated, I must be getting frustrated. I need to take a little break, take a little breather. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that's just about being humble and becoming a better person, all of us as a team.
Yep.
And we've done that a lot, you know, and we might be training around each other, not together, but like in the same general area. And we see someone, you know, struggling with a dog, and we're like, hey, you know, dog's obviously, you know, not learning in the situation. Let's give him a break. And you're like, yeah, you're right. You know,
Yeah.
so that happens. That's one of the beautiful things of what we have, which our organization, CanineRevolution, what we have here is very, very special because of our team. You know what I'm saying? If you're a dog trainer, you're training by yourself, you don't have that team to back you up. You don't have that team to look out for you. You don't have the team to help you see something from a different perspective. So we do have a lot here that's very special. You know what I'm saying? We have each other. We have our entire team. We can talk about things, whether it be dog training or not dog training. You know, if I'm having an issue with something personally, we can talk about it. You know, if I'm looking for some financial advice or asking, hey, you know, I saw, you know, Kevin, I saw you did this, you know, financially, what do you think about that? What can I do? You know what I'm saying? So we're here to help each other any way we can, support each other. If you blow out a tire on the side of the road, you know, you call one of us.
Or 6 tires.
In
You
like
know?
2 weeks.
Good to go. We'll help you out.
Lexi,
You know what I'm
just
saying?
stab
Yeah,
it,
that's me.
Lexi, by the way.
That was me.
One time I just
Chad
saw her
was,
stranded.
Oh yeah, one time
was
Kevin
like, oh.
picked me up. One time I was with every single one of you guys actually. The first time I was with Chris.
Yep.
Chris helped out. Second time it was Chad, which Kevin did end up showing up, but Chad was out there, you know, on the side of the interstate with me till 8 p.m. And then, and we already had, you know, a full day of work that day. And then it was the next time, you know, Kevin saw me on the side of the road, was like, you want to ride to work? And I was like, sure, let's go. But it was, you know, every single one of you guys.
And Keegan, shout out to Keegan helping out with
Yeah.
the tires.
Each
Good to
time.
go.
Every time.
So anyway, you know, team mentality, that's something that not everybody has. So, but anyway, we'll kind of wrap this up. I just want to say I appreciate you guys. Thanks for your dedication to the system, to the process. Once you get through the apprenticeship, once you're certified, I feel like you have a different level of confidence. You have a different level of, you know, how you operate from a professional and personal perspective. And, you know, you're more confident. You can communicate very clearly. You can control your emotions, your energy state differently. You know, you can communicate with both nonverbal and verbal, you know, beings, dogs, humans, cats, chickens, other things. You can apply the principles to a lot of different things. You end up more physically fit, more healthy, you know, more disciplined. We're developing constantly, constant education. So just want to thank you guys for what you guys do every day. And, you know, pride too. You're proud of what you did, what you've been through, but you never stop learning. You know what I'm saying? So good to go. Real quick, wrapping it up. Thank you to the listener for all you guys do. Thank you for your support. If you're someone out there, you say, hey, I want to train dogs. I want to be an apprentice. I want to go through this process. Reach out, let us know. We're looking for 2 to 3 apprentices this year to put through our apprenticeship to join this team. You know what I'm saying? And develop, right? So with that being said, also you may notice we're drinking some nice drinks at the table. Some Jocko Go, Real Energy, and Lexi's Cup. But if you're interested in getting some of these Jocko supplements, Jocko drinks, you can go to Jocko Fuel, use the code SINGER101. That gives you 10% off, and get on the path with the discipline stuff. Good to go. Otherwise, we've got CanineRevolution apparel. We're getting on to Amazon really soon, so that'll be coming out. We'll let you guys know. And until next time, we appreciate your support. Reach out if you have questions. Out.